Hello, William. Welcome here early. We are setting up his net connection.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. My name is William. Connecting from Zambia. I'm a colleague to Frederick. Thank you.
Ooh, okay. Are you candidating for intersect position? Because I somehow recognize your picture, but I don't know where.
Yes, I'm standing in MCC. I am coming from Zambia.
Oh, okay, yeah, so you have been in this workshop. Yeah, I think. Now I remember this. Well, let's see. Let's give it a few minutes and see how many people will join up. Let's see. Yeah, you mentioned proposals take longer than usual. I kind of feel the same way. It's so hard to decide like the proper level of information to be shared. Like there is so much room and things to like say, but then you recognize it gets way too overwhelming to read. So exactly the same problem identified here too. Proposals are too complex. So yeah, now trying to actually do like internally. Yeah, like to get some kind of clarity on the costs, but for the proposal itself, I think it's gonna be more like high-level budget lines, just so it's easier to later execute on proposals and not to overwhelm with people with all the details where the hours go when building a treasury. And hello, input endorsers. You probably have a name too that you have shared, the long forgotten.
Hello, glad to be here.
We are basically 4 minutes in. It's gonna be, well, not as big audience as I was assuming due to like giving a lot of head start for people. But we have all the right people in here. Ken is dropping in and out. But in terms of like timing and the people who are here, I think we're gonna get somewhere with a bit of, we recognized that basically we have not that much constitutional committee recommendations. And if we do, none of them are must. So one of them is let's try to tackle this and see if we here are able to come up with a recommendation for a constitutional committee that could be like, let's implement that this year, next year. And then I guess we can kind of conclude the recommendation session in a sense that we have addressed all different challenges and all different areas. Yeah, we'll see how our energy is at the end of like looking into the constitutional committee stuff, and then we either can find more data points we want to touch and make sure they are listed and out there. And finally finish with a bit of a retrospective to, which is also part of like, I guess, improving and harnessing our governance experience for the future cycles. If Cardano intends to finance and continue to provide funding to research and development side of stuff. So I'm gonna drop in the workshop application, and also I'm gonna share screen. And I'm gonna share an overview page. It's the last page in this list. What's this? Let me see if I can track them away. Okay, it exploded. And this basically gives entire list of all of these circles are like recommendations we have made, and all of these boxes are challenges we have identified through this observation page. And I mentioned we have a constitutional committee area where we have about like 5 recommendations, but none of them are must, and one of them is 2 of them actually haven't been assessed, tier none. So they could be must. So I was thinking, let's like give a quick brief on what we have, and then go around the room to recognize if there are anything missing we should be adding. And yeah, let me show how to kind of do the filtering. So in the prioritization page, I'm going to filter out only constitutional committee, and now the same you see on the overview map, you will recognize the same 4 recommendations here. Currently, the most prioritized here is the CC incentives and productivity optimization. But looks like there have been 2 assessors who have already said that this is more like a should thing rather than a must thing. And mandatory 7-day early signal standard is not yet rated in the Moscow priority. Next, GovID microservices is rated as cooled, so even more downgraded compared to should. And then championing cause is something that somebody has rated even that we shouldn't be doing at all, we won't be done. So yeah, in the chat, in chat you can put it into the overview page. How do you feel about like taking a few minutes off, reading these recommendations, using the upvote, downvote to signal our current cohort of people who are here, Rodrigo, William, input endorsers, and Ken, to see which seems to be the most important recommendation to be discussed. And if you feel like none of it addresses a recommendation that has been floated around in community, or you are aware of, or you just by reading tools you came up with an even better recommendation, this is an opportunity to kind of speak up. Let's add it here and then bring that up into this like consolidation of other recommendations and figure out where do we spend today a bit of our time to fine-tune the at least one of the CC recommendations.
So, Teo, I thought about adding a recommendation. I don't know if we can debate that.
Are you able to write that recommendation into here, or you prefer that we discuss it?
I'm cooking on it. I'm cooking on it now. Hold on 2 seconds. I will just keep writing it, and then we can debate it.
Okay. Yeah, we can extend a few more minutes also for Sebastian to get his bearings on the.
Yeah, no, please go ahead. I'm gonna read. I'm gonna make the job under it.
Okay, I think I got the recommendation in here now.
When I refresh, I do not see it. When you created the recommendation, maybe by default it gives an option in general governance. What I can do is I can show you what's the newest and take that off. Then I see operating, creating, and maintaining CC credentials.
Yes, that's the one.
Okay, I'm going to take a quick edit here and move it to the Constitutional Committee metrics. You didn't attach any charts?
Oh, yeah, it goes, I think, for the response time and the response time for CC members to vote. I don't know, is there anyone here that is also a CC member? Because I am a CC member at Tingvar. And okay, so from a high level, you can be a Cardano constitution member, both as a business, you can be as a consortium, and as an individual. Operating as an individual requires some skills in Cardano CLI to generate a hash key that we use when we put forward the update committee. For consortiums, this is managed by a tool that Mike Hornan and Adam Dean made. It is it's actually based on NFT, where you have an orchestrator that literally just receives some witness signing files. You have what we call a member, which makes it possible to generate new keys and rotate consortium keys. And when we are, let's say, signing credentials, making a signature on a vote as part of a consortium, this requires to run a script. It requires us to keep the credentials for the signing keys in a very secure environment. We don't want to have, signatures. So it's like you have to keep it in what we call an air-gapped environment. And then the orchestrator have to take all the signatures from the consortium and create a transaction and then broadcast it. So it's a very complicated. It's not as easy as buying a meme coin on TapTools, but it's a very, very deep learning curve to become a CC member. And one thing is to actually evaluate the rationales and stuff like that, but you actually need some skills to actually perform the vote. And like we are doing in Tingvoid, we have like weekly meetings, and then we debate the rationale, we write the rationale, and then we vote on it internally. It's like, yes, I'm voting yes, no, abstain, blah, blah, like this. And then it starts the process where each individual member signs the keys. And then I have to pass on the witness file, as it's called, to the orchestrator, and he will actually sign the transaction, compile the transaction, and put it on the ledger. So it's quite complicated. And I was wondering if people here agree with me that this might affect the time it takes for a CC member to respond. And then I'm thinking about the chart that you can see here that says that we have like on an average, like what was it again? 24.5 days. That is DRep stickiness. Is the one thing.
Oh no. Yeah. Well, let's start with then the CC tooling, and then I guess we can, after that, we look at the CC incentives. Yeah. From my experience, I don't really watch what Cardano or constitutional committees are doing. I don't even know where I will watch their activities. Maybe they had a channel in the Intersect Discord. Yeah, so it's yeah, for me, it feels like they have more tooling needed to like distribute information. But of course, you internally know that, okay, if there is like assigning stuff, and that's like a thing, of course.
Yeah, and to look at the whole picture, you know, we as CC members, we often get pushed on by DRep, like, you have to vote now. Is this proposal constitutional or not? Should we as DRep vote on this? Is it constitutional? Do you need to waste time on it? But that's also another challenge. You know, it's uncompensated, or it's complicated tooling, and sometimes it's very complex proposals. And like you see right now, we have like a bunch of proposals coming out. It's, you know, treasury withdrawal times, and it's quite consuming.
I think it's proposals feel like easy. I mean, budget proposals probably are like easier, because there you just take the general, like the headlines, what the proposal is suggesting. I don't know, AI, compare it with the constitution, and that's basically it. I think where the harder part is the info, actions, the parameter, like other stuff, I feel like more complicated, because we haven't made so much like strict rules. How do we manage budget, or like what do we allow pay for or not? So I feel like most of the stuff is constitutional, what people put in. I don't know. Have you ever felt like the community is complaining that your rationale is crap, or your vote is incorrect, and does this happened in Dingvad or in general?
Yes, of course. If we vote something unconstitutional, I'm going to just for an example, and this is actually in the period that we have measured in Beyond. If anyone remember Snack community? They wanted to ask for a treasury withdrawal, and they managed to create two. Well, technically one was like unconstitutional, but they made a typo. They didn't put forward their request for a loan in Lovelace. They did it in ADA, so it becomes 5 ADA instead of 5 million. And this first one was also like unconstitutional because they didn't meet the requirement. And you know, I did just like for fun, you know, like put on X like, congratulations, Snack community, you just managed to put forward two very first unconstitutional proposals in the governance area. And I must say that was in regards to impressions, that was I think the most unpopular post I have on X. And yeah, so it was at the moment a very heated debate. Someone even said that we should, you know, look through the fingers. This was too difficult and stuff like that. So, and we also see other CC members, they pack a lot of heat. That brings me to another challenge. It is to be Cardano constitutional when it comes to tooling. I will say that the Cardano constitution in itself is a tool that we use. When we put it forward in Argentina, we all agreed that this constitution was not complete. It had what we call a lot of constitutional depth. But the constitution that we put forward were at least like a bare minimum, and there were not any, let's say, loopholes that you could, let's say, exploit constitutionality. there haven't been any success on adding and updating the Cardano constitution. It was Utah did one. It took him tremendously amount of hours and several attempts to update, let's say, minor changes to the constitution. The biggest one that he changed was like the treasury withdrawal. He removed the budget in fact. But still, for a CC member, we basically we are very much up to ourselves to interpret the constitution when we are making a decision. And I must say, on top of that, since it's, let's say, not compensated, it leaves you, let's say, okay, you do an effort to it, but I gotta be honest, I don't have time to spend like a day or two on each proposal. To be honest.
Yeah, for me, I feel like maybe this series, like where the AI really helps, because you all kind of mentioned that the constitution is more like a checking if they are filling all the requirements and like the basic stuff. Is the proposal impactful or not? I think that's the secondary that the collective DRep conscience has to vote for and kind of agree to. Where just the constitution is more like a wipe check if we are doing good governance. But I understand it's more like like the, I don't know how every member are doing it, but it's more like people, if they're a single one or a multiple, especially if they're a team, they are spending like specific meetings to read the proposal on entirety. Then they go around, talk about it. Probably the scope is much larger. Is there an unclarity on what's the role of constitutional committee? Does that kind of come up every now and then, or was it just early time to kind of get in mood, and once like few months passed or a few weeks passed, then everybody kind of got used to coming up with rationale?
So challenge, I can give you like a recent one. So now there's a bunch of treasury withdrawals. So as a CC member, I'm not gonna, let's say, get caught up in like how much we pay the developers, like how many, the scope of proposal, like how much ADA, what kind of work is gonna be done. So as a CC member, I that is up to the DReps to decide. But we have, for example, Tenant 8. The Cardano blockchain shall not unreasonably spend resources. So, what is that? If you put that into an AI tool,
yeah, you will have to define that, and I guess yeah, maybe that's the NCL.
Yeah, it's like this. So I know it was like just to give you an example. So, team-wide, we voted actually unconstitutional to the Cardano Foundation's proposal, and the reason for doing that was actually using Tenant 8. They had a proposal last year where they're gonna, let's say, use treasury funding to host summit, and that's gonna and why they got the funding is because it's gonna be an income stream to the treasury in the further season. They put for a roadmap that like at 2028 it's gonna get X amount ADA into the treasury again. It's gonna be like a net profit. And then now they did like let's say 180, and this like we're gonna do like 2 events. It doesn't look anything similar to what they had like said for summit before, and it was like basically twice as expensive. So there we decided, of course, very unpopular, to use Tenant 8 because even though some DRep voted for it and someone voted against it, the scope of the proposal, we as a CC member evaluate that this was like wasting of ADA.
So I guess that's a good like starting to understand the scope of, like, here you kind of mentioned in title CC credentials and were like very specific. But in general, there are like wide range of tooling that the CC member needs. And I feel like maybe through this discussion, I feel like maybe we found the must assess, like the recommendation that is must. Not in the sense that that's specific, maybe the credential tooling is needed. Well, that's also like nice to have, because if, yeah, I think the credential tooling is nice to have. But something which Sebastian mentioned, and I put as a comment here, having scripts running through proposals, and the scripts are maintained by CC members. Because what you're doing here, you're instilling your knowledge into like repeatable processes. So when you're like every proposal, yeah, there is an endless way and a lot of dimensions you can look at the proposal. But if you take it like case by case, you are going to end up in the scenario where you're going to have like a rich knowledge base of information that gives you like falls through statement what happened before. And the more you spend time on it, the richer the knowledge base gets. The AI is able to handle the organization and like the context building and storing. And when the CC kind of leaves their position, the institutional knowledge, or that the CC knowledge, is instilled in a product instead of the members who now move to other things. And this is where I think it's a good, like a must priority item. I'm gonna move it to must here, and moving to the assessment page of this thing. I see hello Pedro joining here. We are in the Beyond MVG application and looking at constitutional committee recommendations. We created a new one, and that new one we're just addressing right now. We're gonna like tackle the constitutional committee from two angles. One is what tooling they need, and here you will find that on the comments we went off a bunch of like details, and then we're gonna look at the CC incentives next. And now I'm going to go around the room, and we're gonna tackle all of these assessment questions, like how many people or processes are affected. And I'm gonna start with Sebastian, because you have camera on and you're active. So on your kind of perspective regarding like CC tooling in general, not just the CC credentials, but all what we discussed in this call right now, how many people or processes are affected if we are doing this tooling? Do you think just the CC members, or also the other people who are affected by the CC decisions making now with these tools? And how far you think it will go in terms of 1 to 10?
No doubt about it is that then the impact of non-friendly tooling to make the job is a blocker, definitely. So I'm, to be honest, I'm not deep into the details of how the constitution and the CC works, but based on my work in the open source committee, it's pretty difficult if you don't have the at least the right tooling to take decisions, right? That accelerates many negative things. You take too much time to make decisions, so it's in my opinion is a 10 because that difficults the job, doing the job. For example, my comment around the shell scripts, using shell scripts to support from the beginning some kind of filter. We use that in one of the programs we run in the committee, the tooling sustainability, right? People send applications, and one of the first steps is the projects must deal with or have to use the shell script, right? It's different from AI because you can see the internals, the details of the script, right? And from that you can see, okay, this is and those are considerations that we as committee, the human committee, we put in the script, right? That facilitates the approval of the rejection of a proposal from the beginning, right? So those are a little bit of the what we live in the open source committee in this case, and how we try to deal with the decision making, the daily decision making. So to conclude, in my opinion, is a 10. It's needed. The tooling is
I have a question for you, Sebastian, since you are in the open source. I think so. You are not, let's say, aware of, let's say, the process of setting up CC credential and the voting process and stuff like that. But like on a high level, on a general basis. So when you have to balance security versus what is called usability, or like something easy to use, user friendly. There we go. What challenges do you identify like an open source developer?
It's not a secret that we have to let go some security to provide better conditions to in this case to make decisions, right? I know it's widely discussed that we need security. We need to secure some the workflow in some way, but we need to let it go some security on behalf of the more sleek and low friction process. I don't know why. I know how. I'm not sure how. But what I know is when the technical people they start thinking on security, they are pretty robust, and they don't allow some kind of a space to drive a better process, and that's not good. That's not okay, because this is a human process. So in the humans, we need some kind of a space to movement. So but
it's very difficult to balance security. So like if you have it will be like devastating for Cardano if you had let's say three CC keys. It could be like 2 individuals and let's say 1 consortium key that's got compromised just by a state actor or targeted attack, basically. I
think we're
make huge damage to a $1 billion ecosystem.
And I think we are in a good path, in the right path to in this governance process. But if we prioritize processes instead of the design of the process, the scaffolding, instead of how we can facilitate the decision making and the participation, and how to accelerate the things and take notes to learn in the meantime, this is gonna be slow in many corners of the governance process. Yeah, that's what I can say. Yeah, thanks.
A bit was discussed also from your own experience, like these tools already exist and practices exist, but it's but looking at a much larger level, maybe Ken can address like how feasible it is to create these processes and improvements to CC credential management and like handling. Is this something new and requires like leisure level knowledge, or this is more just like off-chain tooling that is well integrated with the main chain, and it's all there, it's just not put together?
Yeah, so I might put this forward like a mouthful, but like I just having CC members putting themselves forward at the moment now, I think it's a very, very deep learning curve, and that means there are like a very narrow field of knowledge who can tap around Cardano CLI, who knows Cardano signer, who knows what the S key is, and so just getting just to become a CC member is a very, very deep learning curve. There is no education. You have to know what a CBOR is. Few people on the planet know what it is. As an orchestrator, you have to be very familiarized with how a UTXO model works, and also how an NFT actually works. So yeah, there have been some attempts to do like CC credential education. I know Mike Hornan had done something, but at the moment there is no good and complete educational guidance, and you definitely have to have a network around you to ask about stuff if you just out of the blue decided to go for a CC membership.
Okay, I moved the feasibility down to 4. Should I dig it down even further, or is it now somewhere there? Like it?
Yeah, I think we are in the right area.
Regarding urgency, is there a deadline or time pressure to have tools for CC members? Do you need it now, or you can like, yeah, sure, I can just kind of drag on?
Yeah. I think you can wait, right? You can wait, Ken. You can wait.
Well, the thing is, so we're gonna have a CC election now. If we don't have 4 members putting themselves forward, who successfully are able to create CC credentials, we're gonna be in governance loophole again, because there are CC keys that will expire. Basically bringing governance to the halt. And there's a lot of stuff in the pipeline. We have min pool fee in the bunch of stuff, bunch of importing stuff in the pipeline. We don't have time for a pause in governance. So I think that's and on top of that, the CC is the check and balance on governance on Cardano. So I think this is highly critical, both compensation and tooling. I don't know if someone else agree. Throw a thumb up in the chat.
Yeah, I put that on 10. For the cost estimate, I feel it's like very expensive if nobody's doing it, or because it requires technical skills and know-how and actual experience. And in order to get that experience, you also need to get to be elected, and that's so I will put 10 here. But I don't know, does anybody want to kind of argue against having like the cost of GC tooling. Although the scripts feel like cheap thing to do, and it's like
and I have to say there are mechanisms to get to funding this, because for example from the open source committee I know Match is doing something, preview conversation with CF, something like that, you know. But the Match and the some other organizations, I don't want to say something that I'm not sure, but Match is able to take the problem and create some easy and simple solution, right? And if the solution is clear, they can go to get some funding from the open source committee, for example. They can present a proposal describing the solution and the impact and the necessity, right? And if this proposal goes not only from the Match side, but also is supported by the Constitutional Committee, for example, or the other organizations that are involved in the problem and know well have a good understanding of the problem. What I want to say, what I mean is the mechanisms to get the solution exist currently. So the thing we need is to start connecting points, right? From the committee, from the fund, the organisms that have the funding, different points, right? I think we can structure something and create a concrete proposal, a concrete solution to this situation.
Reduce the cost estimation to 8 from 10 based on that there are avenues and triage ways of like starting small, so the costs are not that high, and maybe it's even more like
it's not as high. I think it's a 6, because if speaking of Match, right, they take a composable components of the existing library, right, and they can build something on top of that, right? I think we have the solutions internally in the ecosystem, but we need awareness of the problem.
Yeah. Sorry, Sebastian.
No, in other words, we need to take this problem out of this space and start to talk with the savvy developers that can build something. Yeah.
Regarding costs here, so I just had a peek at 2025 budget of Intersect that did not pass or was any popular at all amongst DRep. They have CC compensation that was for all 7 members, $250,000. It was $80 legal fund that was put aside. No, sorry, $350,000. And then it was up to $265,000 in CC reimbursement of hardware, and it was also educational and training that was like $221,000. So like it is like a very, very solid cost, and to operate CC.
But this was more like incentives rather than just tooling. So it's like
this is like the whole, let's say, CC, from compensation, legal support, education and training, and hardware, and they even had like a handover ceremony.
To chat. So I think that will go with the other recommendation we have here. But with the technical stuff, just to finish it, I think roadmap alignment is easy 5 because it's like clearly to Cardano governance. time to value, I would say maybe not in weeks, but probably in months already. You can, because you can take it like one step at a time and already see results. So I think there is a value in, depending on the tool that we take kind of, how much uncertainty, I think well understood, and based on what Sebastian kind of mentioned, like pulling on composability, and you also, your experience can, the fact that it's not done, or there is some kind of uncertainty, because if it's well understood, it will be probably already done by somebody, right? So there could be two here. Regulatory, okay, this may be complicated. Regulatory or compliance considerations, any legal risks. Does CC like hold any legal obligations or risks, or this is?
Yeah, so I'm not going to mention name and point fingers at all, but there have been CC members that have been in, let's say, didn't go as far as a legal dispute, but there were lawyers involved. If you zoom out even more, this has have been repeatedly debated. So, Cardano is, a public blockchain. There might be critical infrastructure or critical interests, financial interests involved, and some of the CC decision might, how can I say, affect those financial conflicts. And Cardano is actually classified as a digital reserve in the US Congress. And yeah, there might be like on very, very unpopular, let's say, there is a collusion with, let's say, Binance and Coinbase. They get together and they use their voting power as a SPO to, let's say, run a hard fork or do something harmful, and we deem it unconstitutional. That might be like put CC members in a very severe legal dispute that is very costly, because you're going up with the big boys. They will just come there with like 25 lawyers and like, F you.
Okay, so there is a challenges, but in terms of like today's discussion, like how well is the security or credentialing process? Maybe very legal risks, but having AI scripts run through proposals and provide assessments, it doesn't mean that they make the decision. So, but yeah, I don't know. Like, do I leave it in middle or just skip here for the tooling?
Yeah, in regards to legal, operating, creating, and maintaining CC credential and votes. So if you look at that process, like in whole, like from creating a credential to you actually vote on proposal, I will put legal risk above half, because
okay. So you can get in trouble if you lose your keys or give it to your friend.
there have already been CC members who have been in trouble.
Ongoing effort needed to maintain maintainability. Yeah, I think this is something again which is gonna be like, has to be recurringly always kept up to date, and that's the cost these tools will bear. Does anybody disagree with this kind of notion of having maintainability on file? Takes constant updates.
Yeah, I don't have any counter argument against maintenance.
Okay.
The
Then we save that.
CC election is like we have to have staggered rotation on CC members. We need them present. It is part of critical infrastructure. You know, like at the moment, since we have Voltaire governance, by my standard, it is critical as API standards for exchanges and trading, you know, because it all goes to a halt if it's not maintained. And it will be very unfortunate to figure that out in the hard way, to put it like that. We already had like a governance crisis that almost made us lose a lot. A lot of very solid deals, because you know we have entities and legal entities, you know, doing agreement with in like 3, double-digit million sizes, and without a well-functional CC. Those deals goes down the drains. You will like prevent treasury withdrawals. You will prevent payment on time and stuff like that.
Okay. We addressed the tooling side of CC, and soon, hello, I don't know when you slide in. Today is a Constitutional Committee Day, and I'm going to drop also the link. And we're going to go through one more topic for CCS, and this is incentives and productivity optimization. And the quick read here is the clearest issue is lack of incentives and operational support. If Constitutional Committee members are taking too long to respond, one plausible reason is that it's important function being performed without sufficient dedicated support. Faster constitutional review could benefit full system by helping proposals revise earlier, helping DReps. A useful direction would be study how to compensate Constitutional Committee work more effectively. Instead of assuming payment model from the start, since some seats are represented by individuals and other by groups, it does not make much sense to simply scale the compensations by the members. The ecosystem should instead explore fixed support model per seat, while also studying whether internal redundancies are really adding to the proportional value. AI tools and better can reduce the costs. The goal should not be to replace the human judgment, but to understand the workload, compare methodologies, build compensation models. In short, more reasonable recommendation is to support applied research or pilot-focused Constitutional Committee operations, incentives, and productivity. So if you have in the workshop sessions in the last 2 weeks, we often brought up some kind of incentive models, because we talked about voter incentives, DRep incentives, and now this is also very similar. I think this is like methodically like similar stuff to each of these roles, because they're the main roles in Cardano governance. Let's try to also assess them, get some kind of general thoughts on here. I don't know, Rodrigo, if you're able to also speak up and give a bit of like a tool from your own perspective, like do you have some kind of incentive models in mind, or some proposals, or how this kind of recommendations could be steered towards?
I also very much like, so you cannot, let's say, desire, like they cannot demand, sorry, you cannot demand CC, you know, to, let's say, do a vote within the first 7 days. You see it here in the comment field here, but it is a very good indicator for the community, because there's many times DReps are sitting on the branch, to put it like that, before they are voting. And they don't want to waste their time. assessing, let's say, something that's unconstitutional. And I think it would be a good practice for CC members to like make a preliminary vote. I've seen CIP suggestion that where you use optimistic roll-ups, basically doing this arbitrarily, that automatically CC members vote yes. That part I do not like at all.
Well, then let's add in a way that go through the assessment section. I myself felt like this is not as much as a must and more like a should. And the reason I put it as a should was because I felt like it's also like an expectations from the CC, and it's more like a guidance. Well, it would be great if you are being more public and you have processes and yeah, you're kind of, but it does give, like, to me, it feels like this research development or this product or the space is created for CCs to join in, share learnings, share their own experiences, get some kind of guidance to tackle some kind of information, but we can't make it like a requirement for them. So that's why I feel like, yeah, I put should. If you disagree, then join app, click must, or any other choice.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to speak for other CC members, but what I have seen out there in the wild is that you can use AI like Claude, Gemini, feed it with the Cardano Constitution, and you can like feed it with the proposal, and you can like on a high level just, is this constitutional or not? What an AI will not be able to detect is perhaps like the intention behind rationale or proposal. It will not provide, let's say, as far as I know, like if we implement Leos, just for example, you know, what kind of limitation would this put on Cardano in the foreseeable future? And yeah, so intention, limitations, what else? Yeah. The gut feeling. AI don't have a gut feeling if an intention is good or not. But it sure helps. It sure helps to just check, you know, the basic requirements. We're gonna see, for like, I think the min pool fee now is coming up. That's gonna be very interesting because you need like very good, some very good math skills there to just be able to comprehend the math behind what's coming up. You also have min committee size, like coming up. There also there's a lot of, let's say, intentions and security risk that you need to evaluate. That is not in the scope of AI, I think, but it is a supporting tool for sure.
Now, coming back to the recommendation of providing incentives and like supporting team or a space to improve like the productivity of the CC members. So I kind of imagine there is a team of who are just like technical or like business experts, and they are not in the seat positions, but they are around the CC member themselves and kind of observe of how can they help them optimize their work. Did I capture it correctly, what this recommendation is suggesting, Rodrigo?
Well, I think we when we speak about incentives, we should consider not only financial incentives, but reputation incentives as well. And currently, Cardano governance is not compensating in any manner. So there are two types of incentives at least.
Okay, so there is a, let's say, a team in place who helps to incentivize the CC members both financially and like improve the optimization, but also in a way that it brings out the good aspects of the CC member themselves, so that their kind of reputation increases. I guess, yeah, just making a more transparent, more accessible seat itself in general. Now, if that program or a team is in place, how much impact it will have to the Cardano ecosystem?
Last year, the Atlantic Council submitted a governance action to request funding for the at least 5 members of the CC, and there was a lot of pushback against this. But in my view, some DReps that voted no to pay CCs would like to see a more detailed financial plan, financial considerations about the compensation side. And if we integrate AI to diminish the costs, the human costs related to the effort and time to do these evaluations as a member of CC, in my view, the reps would be more lenient to vote yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this takes back us to the previous recommendation where we were focusing on tooling. And this is why I felt like it's more a must compared to here. But in this, what you say the impact is it impact is then one, because it's financing the small team itself, or you feel like this is like a butterfly effect of impact to entire ecosystem?
Well, we need to understand if CCs are going to continue doing their work without compensation, because Atlantic Council already give up on their role a few months before. So I'm not sure if other CCs are going to continue doing this amount of effort without any kind of compensation. So in my view, this would be a high impact area to tackle.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
of course, we should have more input from other members of CC.
But right now, okay, you mentioned that the area or that challenge is a high impact area, but in terms of the specific recommendation to help incentivize and recognize and improve the productivity of CC members, how impactful would that specific activity be for the Cardano ecosystem?
Well, I think the impact is tied to the situation we had last year when Atlantic Council decided to step down their position and the governance went into a halt for some weeks. If we see the same situation occurring this year, we may face another halt in the governance. So that's where I'm thinking to set my impact as high, because if the other members of CC decide to give up their role, we may face some problems in the governance system.
I might just add on to that. So we're gonna get the correct answer to this now within the next 3 months, because there's a CC election going on. If there is no candidates putting themselves forward for this, governance will halt 1st of September. And unfortunately, at the moment, it is not time to put together a CC compensation plan that's gonna get uploaded through by DReps. So I think the urgency is quite high, and the impact of this is very high, because, as you know, without a CC members, there is no treasury withdrawals, there is no parameter change, there is no hard fork initiate. There's like literally nothing going on. It's only budget, only infactions and update committees gonna be valid.
Well, I climbed the impact from 1 to 8 now. Is that enough? Okay, I see nodding and thumbs up. Urgency is 10, because, yeah, if we are not able, because it's a good, interesting point. We don't know, have we empowered Cardano members enough to become this position? And when we find out, then it's too late. So it's, in a sense, it's
yeah, exactly, because there is too much uncertainty right now. We don't know how the process of the next election will unfold. So it's really hard to set the score for these 2 questions. But if we get to a scenario in which we don't have enough CC members to vote, we would be screwed.
For the feasibility, I think here is a 10. Like, all of these incentive, empowering discussions, we have had years of experience in community, in pooling, and I think just we need to get the right people in the right group, and I think this is kind of solved problem. What resources would be needed? This may be much harder, because now it depends how much we are willing to put resources in here. Because it's targeting a specific group and specific individuals, I would assume the cost is small, maybe even 1, 2, but it does need to come from somewhere. Does anybody feel like the costs are much higher?
It's actually, I would say, like, it's like the cost of incentivizing CC members and, you know, the toolings, that is incredibly low if to compare to the damage. So just for example, if Intersect didn't have put forward this snap election, they have no mandate to do that, by the way, but they did it because you had the Pentad stablecoin that would not be passed. And there was like double-digit million that already had been committed, and it was very close to be flushed down the drain because they were lacking a CC member.
Yeah, interesting. And the reason CC member left, I think, was because there was no incentives, like, and not incentive for themselves, but not for the community, because there is like I remember like a discussion, a lot of debate on there. Regarding roadmap alignment, I think this is easy. 5, time to value. Yeah, I wouldn't say again with weeks, but probably 3, 5 in like months or so, we've already get some kind of clarity.
Yeah, I agree.
At least people will get to kind of know there is a honeypot and there is a reason to exist and put their effort into it. How much uncertainty is this? Well, somebody mentioned uncertainty is like very uncertain. And even if we provide incentives and empower people, it's not clear if it will have the required positive effect, probably this. But here it's more like technical risk. And I think technically we have like no issues. So
Yeah, I agree that we wouldn't face technical risk because it's more tied to compensation and schemes, and I don't see how technical would be a barrier in this case.
the only uncertainty
I
is
will
like
add a little bit to that, Teo, and that is like when it comes to making it easier to, let's say, vote as a CC member, create credentials, you need to lean on battle-tested encryption technology. Yeah, and if you are doing that wrong, that is like very bad for them. So it's not without technical risk, but of course the funding and putting forward the proposal, that's very low. But when it comes to productivity and incentivize, I was like,
Yeah, I agree. I think the technical part is more tied to the tooling. The tooling would be the key part that would increase the technical risks.
for regulatory or compliance considerations, this, I don't know, I will even propose significant hurdles because I wonder how much conflict of interests there can raise if like this body is like finance specific seats and some not, or like providing, because they're all gonna be different. So I don't know how if that's gonna affect.
It would create incentives, bad and good incentives to increase the participation, and we may face some people just willing to participate to get a piece of the pie. So we could face more conflicts of interest, and there is a potential problems tied to this.
And for maintainability, it depends how well it goes. If the incentives kind of work up, I think the maintainability actually will goes down because CC is a very, very important. It's like a president of United States positions. There should be like a lot of like fighting for over that seat position. And so the maintainability cost should also go down because of that kind of competition there. But in current situation, it's like, as we mentioned, uncertain. So I don't know. Do I leave maintainability somewhere in the middle, or somebody feels it goes either way?
I would choose the middle option because in the beginning of this process, we may face more work to develop this incentives model. But if we continue this effort and model, probably the amount of work would be reduced. So I would vote for a 3 in this.
And with this, we have finished assessing 2 recommendations. And welcome, Oliver. Today we had a CC day. We looked at the overview page and filtered out constitutional committee, and we recognized there were only 4 recommendations. So we opened it up, and now we have more options here. And even one must. Before we didn't have operating that kind of recommendation. Well, with that, I would actually conclude the so-called hard part of the session. And I see William also jumped off. But before leaving off, I was wondering, does anybody want to share their like general experience going through this workshop material or staying up to date with what we have been doing? how do you feel about participating, about the app itself? Like, I put a lot of effort into trying to connect people, trying to get the data in one place. And speaking of data in one place, there's a data page, all of the comments, all the assessments people have done. If you have your own AI and you do not want to try our own, I think it's ChatGPT 4.5 that's used here, fed with the AI context and some research papers, you can click the export button and download the data yourself and just feed it to your own AI to make sense of it. We in the Beyond MVG definitely gonna do that and prepare some kind of report out of this. There are gonna be also recommendations with part of the state of report itself on the milestone 4. So yeah, you can feel free to asynchronously play around, but then let's go around the room and people just kind of share your experience in our Beyond MVG workshops and our projects in general. And I start with the bottom corner here. I don't know, Oliver, you just joined, but are you able to open your mic and share your experience?
Sure. I feel I can share mostly about the process of using the site in terms of submitting, raw recommendations. I found that extremely straightforward and simple, which I really appreciated. And as you say, I just joined. So as far as how that the raw recommendations are now filtering down into the final kind of proposal and submission, yeah, I mean, I think it's a nice tool where you can probably do a nice job with that. I hope that I always think of Occam's razor, kind of the idea that the simplest way of presenting an idea is better than more complicated ways of explaining, but at the same time, it's possible to oversimplify. And so I guess my hope at this point is for where the recommendations go from here is that they're not oversimplified as far as the information that gets back to CF or IO. Those are my comments.
Thank you. I will take these recommendations also to team itself, because yeah, I feel like in some sense when the challenges came up, we kind of had to oversimplify because there was hundreds of observations and suggestions, and we had to kind of get it down to bare small challenges. But yeah, thanks for that. Seun, Jibiri, do you want to share? Oh, you just dropped off. Well then, next one, Sebastian, Pavon.
Yeah, I like it. In fact, this is a good evolution of the usual process we have deployed over the years in this kind of exercise. Usually, we used the Miro board, right? And Miro is good for ideation. It's pretty a really good experience in the ideation side, but when we want to gather some data or specific of making decision making specifically, this is better, I have to say. And I know you, Tivo, you are the advocate of Miro, I guess. But and we use Miro for ideation, and that's a good tooling for that. But this is to be honest pretty straightforward in terms of, okay, we discuss some specific topic and we can gather information and data to make decisions. It's pretty, I like it. It's fantastic job with that application. Congratulations. Looks pretty nice.
Yeah, just a small comment. I really like this tool that you developed, and in my view, it's an interesting way to gather people's sentiment and opinions regarding the different aspects of governance. The only downside I see is not tied to the tool itself, but the lack of participation. But this is a wide problem we have on Cardano governance because the discussion is fragmented across many silos, and it's really hard to engage more people in this kind of debate. So this is not on your side, of course, but as a community, it's a challenge we should embrace to tackle. It's really hard.
Yeah, I have a help page on the site if somebody also wants to just engage in data itself. And here, yeah, you can see it's almost like a bear market going down. And then,
so I must say, I am actually, I think, the chart that you showed there is actually more impressive that I actually thought of in the beginning. Like, well, how many votes was it? Like 100 and, yeah. This is not the most popular topic in the Cardano ecosystem. I fairly understand. How many was it? 294, yeah.
So these are all actions. Sign-ups is 63, submissions of ideas is 40, votes is 120, comments is 69, very good number. And observations, I kind of deleted all of them. And chart findings. So these are some old tags here.
Yeah, just to put it at, let's say, it has better numbers than GovTool at the moment. And that is like, I don't know how many millions we have thrown after that, but okay, I'm not, jokes aside. Yes, for me, I think what is most interesting is to see if, as a community, perhaps we'll understand those metrics that we are looking at. Those are like critical metrics that we need to monitor, like in a similar way that we are looking at, circulating supply and the voting power and stuff like that. This needs to be continuously monitored, and I really hope that this tool can be adopted in that monitoring process. And also, so we are also looking into emergency debate, like what kind of preparation should we have for governance emergency, and we're going to do recommendations for that. And I think this is a very nice tool to off-chain, async, and also use for debate in like Google Meets. That is like, let's say there is a governance emergency in the foreseeable future, and we need to put down a war room like we did with the pig chain, and then we need to have people's opinion. And this is a very nice tool where you can look at some visuals, some measurements. It's agreed upon how to measure it, so there's no dispute in the data, and then people can look at the chart and visualization and debate it and up rank efforts like that needs to be done. So yeah, I like it. Very good tool, very intuitive.
Sebastian kind of mentioned in a Miro master and went to a website tooling, and that was kind of I felt like, yes, we do ideation and it's kind of nice to visualize, but it's always the asynchronous activity later when you want to kind of extract or make sense of it. It requires so much like messaging, where here you kind of pre-construct the structure and then people just fill up, and the system itself kind of organizes the information and labels it to the correct place. And then having an ability to, like, the AI has made it very interesting to allow us to use more like sophisticated tooling in workshops itself. And I felt like this is a good opportunity to test something like that. A lot of data is coming in and making use of as much of that. yeah, I'm not sure how the future or what the future holds us, but I do hope we're getting more of these kinds of toolings where we can put our own data in, connect our AIs or use AIs, and just waste not that much time on organizing the information, but rather, yeah, just having an ability to source the information. Well, what's next? I guess for this weekend, those who can still put some kind of assessments down, some recommendations down. But I think from Monday, we will close down the ability to add new recommendations and ability to add new assessments, because then we're gonna kind of freeze the data and move to analysis page in our Beyond MVG team. The site itself will be available for at least this year. So if you are not in a hurry to scrape the data off, if you find it valuable, but as you know, there is the access for you to get that information. And yeah, like Ken mentioned, when you're doing proposals or governance improvements, try to see if you can find any recommendations here, the charts here, and ground it, your recommendations, your proposals with these measurements. Like, hey, if you would deliver on something, what would change in these metrics? So this way we can build on top of each other's work. And if people use our work, if people talk about our work, the chance that we'll be able to repeat these kinds of governance exercises. Well, we have 20 minutes left. I don't know. Do we want to go to our weekend, open some drinks, or does anybody have some open questions, or you can discuss anything? We used to have Swarm Saturday sessions this time, so just to do crazy stuff then.
I don't know about you guys, I don't know about you guys, but I have some fried duck that is about to get cold, and I have a few beers in the fridge, so I think I'm gonna jump onto that. I recommend everybody to do that, actually. It's a common.
I have to jump over. I want to congratulate Tio and Maureen for all these series of workshops. Incredible effort. Incredible. Good work. Thanks a lot.
All right. Well, with that then, I'm gonna end here. Thanks for joining again with this lovely weekend, putting some brain power into governance, which is not easy. But if you do it right, we will change the world.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Have a nice weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.